The government has offered PSAC employees a wage increase of 9% over 3 years. This fully matches the increase recommended by the Public Interest Commission. And all members of the commission endorsed that increase, including the PSAC's nominee. We have also put forward proposals on a number of other priorities for the PSAC, including remote work, increased shift and weekend premiums, and improved leave with pay for family-related responsibilities. We have no doubt that there is enough common ground to compromise and reach an agreement.
Yeah, not so much. That is Mona Forche. She's president of the Treasury Board, outlining the government's position, or at least the Treasury Board's position, as far as the 155 some odd thousand that are now off the job. Not making a difference. They were picketing today. They've been picketing across the country. And this is obviously, at this point, going to cause slowdowns in a variety of government services.
Here we go again.
Yep. Hate to say that again, but that's the case. KARINA GOULD is Minister of Families, Children and Social Development of Canada, minister responsible for our passport program. We all remember what happened with that last summer. She is on the line right now. Ms. Gould, thank you for your time this afternoon. I'll begin by asking, because that's, of course, the question people will now ask, how will this affect the system? I know it's only day 2, but there doesn't seem to be any solution at hand. What's the advice to Canadians?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me back on the program. When it comes to passports specifically, unfortunately, by law, program is not considered to be essential. So that means that Service Canada and passport offices will only be processing passports that are considered essential, which are in humanitarian or compassionate circumstances, which is an extremely limited amount of passports while there's a general strike in place.
Have the delays already begun?
Well, they're just not processing passports applications as of yesterday. So it won't be the same as what we experienced last summer because Canadians just won't be able to get their passports processed. So if someone had an application in the system and it was printed before midnight on Wednesday, they're still able to go pick it up at a passport office. However, anything that wasn't printed as of midnight on Wednesday will not be processed. The file will not be touched until the general strike is over. If Canadians want, they can drop off their application at a Service Canada Centre or a passport office, but it will not be opened. They would have to leave their primary identity documents, and staff would not be allowed to return the application to them until the strike is over. My strong recommendation is not to do at this point in time. The one thing that I can say to assurance is that once strike is over, we have a lot of capacity in the system than we did this time last year.
Minister, your line is cutting out a little bit. Can you back up about a sentence? Because we lost, it was sort of chippy what we were hearing there.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I was just saying that we have capacity in the system than we did this time last year.
Okay.
So once the general strike is over, there will still likely be delays, but we don't anticipate, so long as the strike doesn't last long, that they'll be that grave.
Does that mean then, with respect to people actually working in a physical passport office location, those people will continue, there will be people there?
So at the Service Canada offices and the passport offices, it's only essential staff who are going in now, and that's only about 35% of the workforce at Service Canada and at Employment and Social Development Canada. So essential services like old age security, like the guaranteed income supplement, like social insurance numbers and employment insurance will continue to be delivered, although there may be delays as well.
Okay, and then I wonder, is that the same staff that will process, because you've mentioned that there will be a possibility for humanitarian applications and urgent applications. So is it, please go ahead.
Yeah, so no, there will be a very limited of passport officers are considered to be essential workers, so they will be present. But under the agreement with the union, they are not allowed to engage in activities that are not considered essential.
So what constitutes essential, humanitarian or urgent applications?
Sure. So it's very limited. Basically, if you require a passport because you have to travel for work and your economic well-being will be significantly impacted because of it, if you have to go abroad to seek medical treatment, or you have a family member that's ill or who has unfortunately passed away abroad, or for exceptional humanitarian or compassionate grounds, that may be deemed by a Service Canada employee. But these are very limited. Just to put it into context, I mean, yesterday on the first day of the strike, that was only about 500 applications across the country.
So this idea, if I remember back to last summer, where if you had a flight in a day or two and you were considered, to go to the front of the line by virtue of that, because otherwise you'd be waiting forever, that does not apply this time around?
Well, it does not, because that is not considered to be essential. But
okay.
That's different because last summer there was no strike, right? It was there was a different reason for the backlogs because we had an accumulation of applications, whereas this is not considered to be an essential service. So unfortunately, if Canadians have travel upcoming and they don't have a passport, by law, that is not considered an essential service.
I'm curious, we keep hearing from the Prime Minister that he's quite confident that a deal can be reached quickly, and yet we're certainly not hearing the same confidence from the union side. Where are we at, and do you share that same confidence?
Well, look, I do share the confidence with the Prime Minister. I mean, I think that government side, we have been at the table the entire time. We first started having these conversations almost a year ago. There's a very fair offer on the table from the government, increase over 3 years. That's, I think, very fair, very equitable. And we certainly want to reach a deal at the negotiating table. We think that's, where these negotiations need to happen. I'm not the president of the Treasury Board, so I'm not the one that's leading the negotiations. But certainly, from my vantage point, I can say that the government is extraordinarily committed, is working around the clock to reach this. And, for the past 2 weeks, the government and the union have been in mediation, and the Public Interest Commission has said that there is a fair deal on the table, and what we've offered is in line with what the PIC has recommended.
All right. Minister Gould, we thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Hope you're right, and this does get settled sooner rather than later, because this is going to be a giant inconvenience to a lot of people as far as the passport office is concerned. Thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. KARINA Gould, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development of Canada. So again, and I wanted to just kind of point that out, it is not the same thing this time as it was last time. If you had to be somewhere in a day or two and they kind of whisk you through the line, that doesn't count this time around at all. So just keep that in mind.
This number kind of staggering, 85,000 applications a week for normal passports. And did
you say they're processing 500 yesterday? That's what got done? Okay. Good luck.